Fantasy football. You probably know somebody that plays, right? It's so popular here.
Fantasy sports site DraftKings.
Fantasy sports is now a multi-billion-dollar industry.
The screen flickered, but he wasn't looking at the score. He was looking at a ledger. It was December 2014, Monday Night Football. Most of America was cheering for a city, a jersey, or a point spread. But this man, he was rooting for a ghost, a barely known receiver named Marquess Wilson. A name that meant nothing to the stadium, but held the weight of a seven-figure sweat. To his neighbors, he was just another guy on a couch. But months earlier, he had committed the ultimate corporate sin. He walked away from a stable finance desk to chase a digital phantom. He traded a guaranteed salary for a statistical projection. People didn't just doubt him, they laughed. On this night, his portfolio was a masterpiece of leverage. It was borderline perfect, but it was missing the final seal. It required a miracle delivered via a three-step drop. The snap, the defense shifted, the slant. Wilson broke inside, the catch. In the time it takes for a heartbeat to skip, the hobby became a blue-chip headline. 1 touchdown, 6 points, $1 million. What began quietly in a living room ended with the world learning the name Drew Dinkmeyer. The man who turned math into a mountain of cash. He became the poster child for a new American fever. He proved that the game had evolved. It wasn't just a pastime anymore. It was a pivot, a profession, a culture where the data is dense, the risks are real, and the payday is permanent. Because in this new era of the gridiron, the glory might be digital. But for Drew, it was deeply personal. Let's reveal the wild world of NFL fantasy sports, the good, the bad, and the absolutely massive business behind it. How it works, how it messes with fans' loyalties, how it created billion-dollar apps out of nowhere, and how it's literally changing the way people watch football every single Sunday. If you're into sports stories and you love getting behind the scenes of the NFL, stay with us. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. It helps way more than you think. All right, let's talk fantasy sports. Fantasy football isn't just big, it's enormous. As of 2025 estimates, around 60 million people in North America play fantasy sports, with fantasy football dominating as the most popular, engaging tens of millions of players. That's bigger than the population of many countries, and more than the combined fantasy players for NBA, MLB, NHL, and others. And globally, fantasy sports is a $35 to $37 billion industry in 2025, with North America, mostly driven by football, contributing around $13 to $15 billion. And it all started from pain, literally. Flashback to 1962. The Raiders were 1-13, misery, embarrassment, pure depression-level football. So a man named Bill Winkenbach, a part owner of the Raiders, did what any sports-obsessed mind would do. He invented a game to distract himself from how bad his team was. In a New York hotel room with a beat writer and a PR guy, they created the world's first fantasy football league, the Greater Oakland Professional Pigskin Prognosticators League. A mouthful, but a revolution. They didn't know it yet, but they just reinvented sports fandom forever. For some people, fantasy football is just a hobby, a little fun, a distraction. For others, it's a commitment that somehow feels more serious than marriage vows. A fantasy player once explained it perfectly. Fantasy lets you be the GM, the coach, the owner. You pick the guys, you live the highs and lows, you feel the injuries. It's your team now. And once you're in, you're in. It usually starts with draft night. The board is up, the clock is ticking. Someone panics, someone reaches, someone swears they got a steal. One auto draft can quietly end friendships. One random round 7 pick can fuel trash talk for the next 10 years. That night alone hooks people for life. And then there's the league itself. Fantasy leagues keep people connected across cities, careers, and decades. Friends who barely talk all year suddenly become very active in September. Memes, trade offers, trash talk at 2 a.m. Some leagues outlive relationships, outlive jobs, outlive cities. The group chat changes. The commissioner somehow never does. Then the games start and everything changes. Fantasy turns a random Titans-Texans game into must-watch television, not because you care about the teams, but because your RB2 is playing and you need 11 points. You don't just watch games anymore. You track drives. You count touches and targets. You celebrate a meaningless third down catch like it's a game winner. For some people, that's enough. For others, there's money involved. Some play for bragging rights. Others play for rent money. With DraftKings and FanDuel, a $5 entry can turn into a life-changing payday. Just ask Drew. And underneath all of it, went that the reason people never quit is ego. Nothing feels better than beating your friends. Nothing feels worse than finishing last, especially when your league gets creative with punishments. Because in fantasy football, winning is fun, but losing, that's where things get dark. Which brings us to the dark side. Fantasy football isn't always about winning. Sometimes it's about surviving. The Waffle House Challenge. One man, Lee Sanderlin, went viral because he lost his league and had to spend 24 hours in a Waffle House. Every waffle eaten equals -1 hour. He documented every minute, the stares, the syrup, the suffering. ESPN picked it up. It became a national event. Then there's Eric Rooks, whose punishment was a 12-month embarrassing photo calendar. Cupid wings, mermaid tail, cheerleader uniform, everything. Some leagues are pure evil, but that is fantasy football. It takes over real life. It becomes tradition, ritual, identity, and the NFL loves every second of it. Fantasy football doesn't just change what you watch, it changes how your brain works on Sundays. Once you start playing, you don't just watch the NFL anymore, you consume it. More games, more prime time, more injury reports, more beat writers than you ever thought you'd follow. You know which wide receiver tweaked a hamstring in practice on Wednesday, and you absolutely don't remember your cousin's birthday. And here's the part people outside fantasy don't understand. Fantasy football isn't just a Sunday thing. Sunday is just the payoff. The real work happens all week. Tuesday nights turn into waiver wire battles. Thursday mornings are spent refreshing injury reports. Friday becomes a lineup debate you swear you're done with. And Sunday morning, pure chaos. You're making panic swaps 5 minutes before kickoff, promising yourself this is the last change, knowing full well it isn't. Then the games start. And when a player goes down, regular fans feel disappointment. Fantasy players feel betrayal. That wasn't just a player, that was weeks of research, planning, and optimism collapsing in one awkward tackle. And then there's loyalty. This is where things get uncomfortable. Because fantasy creates a second identity. You might be a lifelong fan of one team, but if your fantasy lineup needs points, you'll quietly root for the opposing quarterback to light up your own defense. You don't cheer, you don't celebrate, you just nod. It's fractured fandom, a split brain, and the NFL is completely fine with it. Because fractured or not, it means more games watched, more screens on, more hours logged, more money flowing. Fantasy football didn't just add another layer to the NFL, it rewired how fans experience the game permanently. Fantasy football isn't just passion, it's an economic monster. $13 to $15 billion North American market, $35 to $37 billion globally, 60 million fantasy players. Entire companies built around fantasy data, and some players figured out how to cash in. The first fantasy era superstar, while some players fought fantasy culture. Austin Eckler embraced it. Eckler realized something powerful. Fantasy players were his loudest fans, so he did something no active NFL player had ever done. He started a weekly fantasy-focused show, not for analysts, not for coaches, but for the people who drafted him. He answered lineup questions, explained usage, talked game flow. Then he launched his own app, Experience, to connect directly with fans beyond box scores. And it worked. Eckler didn't just become a running back. He became a fantasy icon. His endorsements weren't based on team wins. They were based on PPR value. Fantasy didn't just change how fans watched football. It changed how players built careers. And the craziest part, we're still early. Fantasy football isn't slowing down. If anything, it feels like it's just getting started. The money keeps growing, the audience keeps getting bigger. And by the end of this decade, fantasy sports won't just be a side business next to the NFL, it'll be one of the league's main engines. In North America alone, the market is projected to more than double by 2030. Globally, we're talking tens of billions more pouring into fantasy-driven platforms, content, and betting ecosystems. And that's where the biggest shift is happening. Fantasy and betting are no longer separate worlds, they're merging. Season-long leagues, daily fantasy, player props, micro bets, it's all blending into one nonstop experience. One screen, one ecosystem, one constant decision loop. And the edge? It's no longer just trust your gut. The future of fantasy is data. Algorithms are already setting lineups. AI models are predicting injuries before they happen. Trade offers are being evaluated by machine learning instead of group chat arguments. The player with the best information doesn't just win, they dominate. And the way we experience games is changing too. Picture this. You're watching Sunday Night Football. Your fantasy stats are layered right onto the broadcast. A live prop boost pops up mid-drive. You adjust your lineup without ever leaving the screen. That future isn't coming. It's already here. And it doesn't stop in the US. As the NFL pushes into Europe, Mexico, and Brazil, fantasy follows right behind it. New fans don't just pick teams, they pick players, build lineups, and learn the league through fantasy first. This isn't just an American obsession anymore, it's going global. Fantasy Football 2.0 isn't about drafts and box scores, it's about immersion, data, constant engagement, and once you step into that world, there's no going back. Fantasy football isn't a side game. It's not a distraction. It's not just numbers and projections. It's community. It's competition. It's culture. And now, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry shaping the way millions watch the NFL. Fantasy football didn't just change Sundays. It changed how we watch, how we care, and who we root for. It turned fans into GMs, friends into rivals, random games into must-watch events. It made players our guys, no matter the jersey. It blurred the line between fandom, competition, and business. And now, it's shaping the future of the NFL itself. Because this isn't the peak, this is the coin flip. The next decade decides whether fantasy football becomes the engine that keeps the NFL on top, or the force that completely rewires what being a fan even means. And whether you love it or hate it, you're already playing the game.